are you ready to die for her? Will you die for her? And if you hesitate and you say like, I don't know I want to die for her. If somebody comes in the door and they want to kill her or me, I'd rather her be hurt than me, then you have to question that relationship.
This is Vivian Villacis.
And this is Raul Villacis.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Villacis, and I'm here with my beautiful queen.
Yes, so happy to be here. My name is Vivian Villacis.
It's been a while since we haven't done a podcast, at least a couple of weeks.
I know, I even got stuck a little bit like, whoa.
Like, what are we doing here? We're doing a podcast, woman.
I know, but I love to do this podcast. It's really something that's always in our heart. It's not something that,
It's not work.
It's not a drag or just like to speak from our heart.
It's not something that we feel like it's work.
No.
It's something that we feel like is coming from a place of sharing
That's right.
Our journey, sharing what we learned.
Yes. So really want to thank you again. Like we always say this, but every conversation that I have, every text, I really do appreciate it. And anything that you want to share with us, whether it's, just DMing each or Raul or myself, or you just want to share something here in the podcast, it really helps us and it really helps the people that are listening to this, because every conversation that we have, everything that we share, like it's just a learning experience. And then we could feel like, okay, well, I'm not in this alone. And I think that's really why, especially why I share this parts of my conversation, it's really vulnerable sometimes to put ourselves out there. Still is, and the reason why we share is because we all go through a certain place in our relationship, in our life. Like we go through certain things and we feel sometimes that we're alone. And I know that I've been talking to a lot of women even now, like just having conversations, and they're like, well, thank you for just making the space for me to be real, because I am just so, I feel so alone. So I hope that this helps. Like if you're listening to this, that this is something that, whatever we say or somebody says in this podcast, that it really resonates with your heart and it could help you to get to a different place to where you are right now.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that is, if you're watching this, whether it's in YouTube or listening to our podcast, just know that you were meant to listen to this. There's no coincidence. I mean, as good as a marketer as I believe that I could be, I hear this from my clients all the time. Raul, man, I was praying for your videos. I was praying for something that your video shows up. I was praying for a solution, and then Facebook showed me your ad, because we put a lot of money on ads for our program, the Edge program.
Yeah. And
we just came from a leadership summit. We had about 100 men that came to our event.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And the story was the same. Like, man, I didn't know I lost the edge. I was praying for something, and I believe God just put your message in front of me, and that's the main reason that we put content out there. That's the main reason that we do what we do, is to really create an impact and help you see that, like Vivian said, you're not alone. You're not alone. That's right. And nobody has this shit figured out.
We don't have it figured out.
The moment that you think people have it figured out, that's the moment that people start losing this shit. I mean, we have to start looking at right now what's going on in the culture. It's like we have, celebrities losing their shit, literally losing their shit, because of relationships. We have, all these things that are going on at the core of our humanity. We all want to be loved. We all want to be wanted. And relationship is probably the hardest things that every single one of us want to work on or need to work on. So this podcast is created with the intention to give you an insight of what can you do better with a connection with God. What can you do better in order for you to get your money right? What can you do better to get your purpose right? All around the conversation of having a better relationship.
And within that better, I think it's like the word that I like to tell myself is like, how do I improve? Because, sometimes it's difficult. Like we get it. Like Raul and I have been married for 22 years. And sometimes it's difficult to get out of that place where you think like you just, okay, there is no out. And I think, even the podcast today that we were talking about it, like what are we going to talk about, and what's coming through for you and for myself even, it's like a lot of women that I've been talking to is the drama that we sometimes we're addicted to. And, as you see in social media, like right now, there is like so much of that, whether it's with like Will Smith or Johnny Depp, like all these people that are like really in the thick and thin of the drama that they have in the relationships. And it's just, it's so sad to hear it when from an outside perspective of how addicted we are to drama.
And it's an addiction that we all have, because it's like, you're watching a train wreck, right? And even though as busy as I am, if I get a notification about, a clip about Johnny Depp, I want to watch it. I want to see it. I want to see what's going on there. Just because we are, as human beings, we probably want to watch the train wreck, realizing, okay, good thing that I'm not there. Like,
it's not as bad. It's not as bad as it, like, it is happening for me.
Somebody
right
has
now.
it worse than me. And that's one of the things that I tell my clients all the time. Like, when shit is worse, just you have to have perspective.
Yeah.
Shit could always be worse. Situations could always be worse. You could be in the court in front of everyone, people looking at your relationship with a microscope. And at least if you have challenges, we have the opportunity to talk about the challenges, to talk about what's going on, and hopefully resolve the challenges before it escalates to something that's unresolvable.
I know. It's funny because, like I always say, like, we're so addicted to like sugar, right? Like my kids and like we're going through this thing, like we don't want to eat so much sugar. We're being so mindful and so aware of the sugar because there's sugar in everything. But then you look at this thing like that's happening now with social media and everything. It's like there is drama in everything. Like every way you turn, there's drama. And sometimes we get attached to that. And I feel like in a way, we kind of just like bring that with ourselves, bring that to our households, not consciously, but unconsciously, we bring those things with us. And I know a lot of the women that I'm speaking to now, like there's a lot of issues with trust. There's a lot of issues with infidelity. There's a lot of issues with like unworthiness. And it just, it makes me sad. But at the same time, I tell them like, us knowing where we are in the relationship and where does the drama come from? Like, why is it there? I think a lot of the times like we're not even in tune to that. Just like the same thing, which it may be silly to you, like to listen to this, but it's like, we don't know like how much sugar we're eating, how much sugar we're consuming. When you become aware of that, like with my kids, like, Alejandro, he's like amazing. My son, I have a 14 and a 15 and a 16-year-old, and they've become so aware. They've brought so much awareness to like, okay, what am I eating? What am I putting in my body? Because really, like, if you put these two things together between the drama and the sugar, like we are what we eat, we are what we listen to, we are what we say to ourselves. And now that I see my kids, like their awareness level was like down here, and all of a sudden when it rose up just a little bit, like they really decided like, okay, well, Mama, this is not really good for me because when I have the sugar, then I feel sluggish. When I have the sugar, I get hyper and then I crash. The same thing, like I tell the women, I'm like, when you realize, when you bring this sense of awareness, like, where's this drama come from? Why am I stuck in this drama? How can I bring this sense of awareness of like, okay, well, what am I going to do about it?
But I think it all comes down to sometimes we make things wrong, right? And we create this energy around it. Okay, I don't want to do that. I don't want to eat sugar because I know it's bad for me, but it tastes so good, right? I don't want to look at porn because it's wrong. I don't want to drink because it's wrong. When I started looking at things instead of good or bad, but what's useful and what's not useful, right? Do I want to do things that are useful for what I want long term? Right. Do I want to eat sugar every single day if I'm trying to be fit? Do I want to watch porn every single day if I want to have a better relationship with my wife? Right. Do I want to eat and just watch TV if I want to improve my business? All those things come to the awareness of what do you want? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And I think a lot of us in business, we have a clear vision of what we want in business. When it comes to our health, when it comes to our connection with God, when it comes to a relationship, there is no clarity. Right. So one of the main things that I talk to my clients is, what do you want? What do you want? Are you clear about the outcomes?
I know, but then when it comes to the relationships, like it's so hard for you to say like, when is the last time that you sat down with your spouse and you say like, well, what is it that we want out of this relationship, right? Like we talk about this all the time. And I ask women this all the time only because I'm doing that. And they're like, well, we got married 20 years ago. And I said, yes, I do. And then I haven't had the conversation again. And I'm thinking like, why don't we do that? Like, why don't we let time go by?
It's a conversation that is, from a man's perspective,
it's uncomfortable.
We feel like, man, if we open up that kind of words of, are you happy with our relationship?
Ooh, let me tell you.
We're afraid of the answer because we might every guy that I coach, if I ask them, like, where do you rate yourself in your relationship? Most of them, they won't rate themselves higher than a 5 or a 6. Why? Because they always think that they could do better, right?
Right.
But in business, same thing in business, right?
Okay.
We could always do better. But in business, at least we have the control that we know what to do and we need to implement. In relationships, there's somebody else in the play, somebody else that has control as well. So that's the battle. I believe that's why most men, it's hard for us to work in a relationship because we are not in control.
Right. But then again, it's like, and I understand, like, if you are listening to this, like, I understand if you are in a bad situation right now, but just having that distinction of like, okay, how do I have this conversation and have the awareness of like, and awareness is like you putting, what I tell my kids and I tell myself this all the time, is like you just having like a new set of glasses. Like if you need a different prescription to see, when you put those glasses on, then it gives you the sense of perspective, like, oh, now I can see it with the different eyes. Like, what is it that I need to do in my relationship? Sometimes we overcomplicate things. And I know that I overcomplicated. I created more drama, more stories that it needed to. And once I realized, like, okay, if I get out of my way, what is the real truth? Then I had to have the conversation with myself first, and then I could have a conversation with you.
Well, it comes down to the truth. Like, what is your truth? I was listening before coming here. We're talking about the topic of Johnny Depp, looking at, some of the things that we could learn from that relationship, right? And I was listening to a clip where she's testifying that, she was abused, right? She was, that Johnny Depp was
physically abusive,
physically, verbally, everything, right? But then they showed a clip where she's the one who's saying, no, I don't want you to go. I want you to stay, right? And Johnny Depp is saying, no, let me go. Let me go. I want to leave. And then you hear this conversation for like 5 minutes. Here's a man. He's like a badass actor, but he's being captive by this woman because he doesn't have the power to say, you know what? I need my space. I'm going to leave. You can cry all you want. You could do whatever you want, but I need my space. I need to just move on. But no, he stayed there, like saying, let me leave. Let me leave. And she goes, no, I don't want you to leave. You're killing me. This and that. I'm like, I'm listening to this like, there's so much drama from both sides. Two weak individuals, because I'm not, saying that he's right or she's right. I'm saying two weak individuals trying to make themselves whole, and they don't have the power to get clear about what they want and make a decision whether I'm going to leave, I'm going to stay. If somebody's abusing you, get the fuck out.
I know, but then that's a challenge, because even in that situation, like, you get addicted to that.
That was my point. You get addicted to that energy of being needed. From a man, it feels good. Man, my woman needs me.
Yes.
Like, she needs me. She can't live without me.
It's a sense of significance.
So in both cases, they're both driving each other crazy because they're craving the significance, right? Until
they're craving the significance at a lowered standard, I would say, right? Because I want you significance. I want to feel significant with you, but I know that like, I know who I am. I know whose I am, and I know who created me. So it's a way different energy, right? From like the energy, if you think about like one of like needing and wanting and like just a scarcity.
It all comes down to having that needy energy. I'm really very interested, but I'm actually 2 really good books that I'm eating it up right now.
Tell us. Oh, so, well, I know which one you love. Yes.
I love the book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And I finally found an author that says the word fuck more times than I do. So the first chapter is like, this guy just saying fuck every single sentence.
Yes,
so like, hey,
this
is the type of guy that I want to listen to, right? So, and it talks about people are stuck in giving a fuck about everything. That's the reason they don't give a fuck about nothing, right? So we care about everything. We fight for everything. We don't find something that we truly core, want to give a fuck about in order for us to fight for it, right?
True.
The other book is No More Mr. Nice Guy. And the guy who wants to be banned, who's everybody walks over him because he wants to be the nice guy, and therefore he ends up doing nothing.
And that's like the two extremes, right?
Yeah,
like
we got the darkness and we got the light.
Guy,
and that, at the Leadership Summit, we did an exercise when we help men tap into the darkness. I believe that most men right now are stuck in trying to be this nice guy,
a pleaser,
a pleaser. And I have an acronym for NICE. It's called not in charge or not in control of execution.
I like that.
Not in control of execution. Because if you're trying to be the nice guy, somebody else always has control over you.
Yeah.
Somebody else always has control on how you're going to show up.
And I would say it's the same thing for women, because that's another thing that I hear every single time I get on the phone with the women. They always tell me, like, Vivian, I take care of everyone else and everything else in my life, but I don't have the time. I am not a priority in my own list. It's always the same thing. Like, they're just so nice. They're so loving. They're so giving, but they've run themselves dry.
And same thing with men. Like they feed everyone else and they eat last, so therefore they don't have the strength or the emotional fitness to deal with the drama. When they come home and the wife wants to bring them drama, they're so drained that they just bend. I want to,
or
whatever you want, honey, whatever you want. I want to be the Mr. Nice Guy and bend. And
or you're just fighting and you give in to the drama, and it's like that. Well, that's why you start the bickering and like.
So you made a good point that we were talking about, like the couples that made it, that makes it, right? The couples that make it through the years.
Yes, because
what did you find on that research or what we were?
Well, it was. I think
it
was a podcast that I was listening to, or a book. I don't remember right now, but it was something so intrigued to me because it said that it's not about the couples that make it in relationships, long-term relationships. It was a study that was done. It was an experiment that was done that the couples that made it in long-term relationships are the ones that actually still have conflict in relationship, but know how to handle the conflict and the drama and the struggles that come into their lives. So it's not to say like you're not going to have struggles, you're not going to have conflict. How do you deal with the conflict? And the ones that actually made it through longer than 20 plus years were the ones that actually had more conflict, but They knew how to handle it. They knew how to handle
they had emotional fitness.
The conflict.
I think that comes down to having emotional fitness, emotional awareness. Okay.
And I thought it was so cool. I'm like, we had a lot of drama. We had a lot of conflict, but it was never a place where like I wanted to give up, or maybe like unconsciously, maybe I wanted to give up, but I never wanted to give up on us. I never wanted to give up on like, let's find a solution.
One of the things that I love about the book talks about the illusion.
I thought you said one of the things that I love about me is when I never gave up.
Well, the book talks about the illusion of being perfect, right? The illusion of having a perfect life, the illusion of having a perfect marriage, right?
Yes.
So when you said like you never wanted to give up, it's like for me, giving up wasn't an option because I wanted to fight for something, because if you
even if we were fighting each other, we were fighting for something.
I remember, I look back at our time together. Like we had a lot of drama, we had some deep drama.
We created it,
but at the core, we both wanted to fight for something.
Right.
When a client asks me, when a client says, "Raul, how do you know it's time for you to move on? How do you know that it's time for you to divorce your wife or just to leave your partner?"
That's a hard.
I know it comes down to the question I ask them is, are you ready to die for her? Will you die for her? And if you hesitate and you said like, I don't know I want to die for her. If somebody comes in the door and they want to kill her or me, I'd rather her be hurt than me, then you have to question that relationship.
Yeah.
So at a core, I always felt like I will die for you. So whatever drama we had, like we will get through it. Because unless you kill me, unless we're dead,
we were there.
I feel that we're going to be able to work things out.
Yes.
So from that place, is like giving a fuck about something that you're willing to die for. Give a fuck about something that you're willing to fight for.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing about this experiment is that, the couples had conflict. Like they had some major conflicts, but they were able to get through it. And because they got through it, it made the relationship stronger. And I think sometimes in relationships nowadays, especially, we're so afraid of having that, like showing anger and showing all these emotions. But I think one of the best things that happened to us is like we are true to our emotions, whether it's the dark warrior or the princess that, wants to throw a tantrum. Like I allow myself that space, and I'm so thankful that you allow me that space, because if not, it's like I can't pretend to be this person that I'm not. I can't pretend to be this person that you wanted me to be, but I'm not that person all the time.
It's just having awareness of the multiple versions of us that show up. So there's
right.
the dark warrior, which is usually if the dark warrior is used unconsciously, wants to burn you to the ground, wants to be in power, wants to be control.
Would you say it's
control
immature?
Freak. He wants to have his way. I mean, the dark warrior is the one who you look at the toxic version of a man, right? That's the dark warrior. But using the dark warrior could actually be powerful when you use it consciously.
Okay.
Because there's no more toxicity. It's just the warrior that wants to protect. Right. You know, I read somewhere that, you know, there are people thinking, okay, there's toxic masculinity and there is masculinity, right? So what's the difference between those two? Is the perception, is the perception of the person that's on the other side. If you think that the guy is too aggressive at one point or too direct, then you say he's toxic. But what happens when, you know, somebody's threatening you, right?
And you need that.
You need that man to come in and protect you because he's direct, he's going to protect you. So how come he was toxic 5 minutes ago, but when you need help, he's no longer toxic, right?
And those are the things that in a relationship, like you need, like, and I've told you before plenty of times, it's like women don't feel safe when you raise your voice if we're having a good conversation.
It's more like the environment, right?
Details.
How we use it. So the same way, dark warrior could be very toxic. Dark warrior could be very toxic and could destroy situations.
Yes.
But using that dark warrior could be very helpful. Right. Using dark warrior to be able to execute in your business when it's necessary to be able to get shit done. So that's one version of me that shows up, right?
Yeah.
Then the pleaser or the Mr. Nice Guy. There's another version that I've been able to, you know, keep him under control because he's always sabotaged. He wants to be liked. He wants to be funny. He wants to be the laugh of the party, and usually bends and you know, most of the time he's not being his true self. He's not being, you know, real to himself. Then there is the king who chooses, okay, what's useful and what's not useful.
That's right.
You know, what do I want in a situation? I don't care about pleasing everyone. I want to make sure that I get clear on where I'm going. Then the sedated warrior. The sedated warrior is the one who's lazy, the one who procrastinates, the one who eventually becomes a victim of her circumstances. So knowing all those versions for myself allows me to see how am I going to show up today.
Yeah.
You know, there's also the warrior, the true warrior that says, man, I'm going to fucking execute. I'm going to get shit done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to accomplish what I need to accomplish. So knowing those versions of myself allows me to have the emotional fitness to see who's arguing, who's addicted to the drama, who wants to consume drama, who's going to show up. So therefore I could actually see, is it useful, not useful to trigger that part of me.
And it's also useful for me to know because then it's almost like I don't, how do I say it? Like I know who's coming out, who's showing up at that moment. So I know it's not the king, maybe it might be the dark warrior. So I'm not going to really like hold you accountable. Not hold you accountable, but I'm going to hold you to this situation in that moment because it's a different character that's coming out at that moment. So once I knew that from you, once you share with me, then it was like, oh, okay. So it's not that you want to hurt me. It's just like maybe right now it's just a dark warrior that needs to get shit done.
But it's an important feedback of having that conversation,
right?
Because now you know how to handle that version of me.
Yes.
So usually when the dark warrior comes out and then the princess comes out, then there is clash, right?
I usually get out of the way.
But the dark warrior comes out and let's say I'm focused on a business situation, then how to break the pattern, and you do it beautifully, is the seductress, the Temptress. The Temptress,
yes,
right?
Yes.
The Temptress gets the attention of the dark warrior and puts the guard down.
That's
because you know it's the feminine energy, it's the attractive energy that allows the dark warrior to say, okay, I'm going to shift my focus to something else, right?
Because it's usually making you laugh or making you just, you know, come back to like to yourself and come back to me, you know. And to the women, like we talked about 3 different energies, which is our Temptress energy, the one that Raul was talking about, the one that he loves, and she's playful, anticipation, naughty, very feminine, very giving, loving, right? Then we have the mother energy, which is the one that nurtures, that takes care of, which a lot of us women live in that, like always giving, always taking care of someone else. 80 to 90% of our time we're there. And then we also have the princess, the one that sometimes she wants to throw a tantrum. Like if you could just imagine like a 5 or 6 years old when she doesn't get the toy that she wants, or somebody takes her toy, she literally throws herself to the ground and starts like throwing a tantrum, crying, and just being a brat baby. And I think once we know those things, it's like who's showing up.
And you forget one very important one.
And the queen.
The ice queen. No, the ice queen. Yeah, but ice queen and the queen. The ice queen is the one that when men come home and
you don't like the ice queen, but you like to talk about her.
They already put all the energy in their business. And when I come home, the ice queen comes in And
Yes.
all shit breaks loose because the ice queen has a wall because she hasn't been taken care of. She
Yes.
hasn't been seen, heard, or loved. So therefore, she puts an ice barrier
Yes, a
between
big wall. A
a
big
wall
wall.
that the man cannot penetrate because he doesn't have the energy or
Right.
the emotional fitness to actually break or melt the ice queen.
And I say this all the time, like the ice cream comes on because it's a compound effect of all these emotions that have been stacked, and not necessarily by you, but by us. And it comes from a place of like, well, I'm going to take care of myself now because you're not taking care of me. I'm going to take care of me because you're not doing the job that I need you to do.
But you create a wall. You create a
It's
wall
a
and a
big wall.
separation.
It is a big wall because we don't know what else to do. It comes from a place of fear, but it's like, I am going to put this wall because you could no longer get to my emotions.
So I think that's where the drama feeds that wall,
Of
right? So the
course.
drama feeds the dark warrior,
Yes.
and or the victim mentality.
Yes.
The drama feeds the wall with the ice queen. So you could see how drama keeps that glue of the a disruptive relationship.
Yes.
As opposed to like, okay, taking ownership. No more. I'm not gonna feed onto this drama.
Yes.
I'm gonna work on myself. I'm not gonna feed into this drama. I'm gonna take ownership of what I'm doing. Brings me back this conversation to the testimony that we had of one of the guys from the program who came from the Edge program, from the boot camp, from the Edge boot camp.
Okay.
And he was in stage of leadership at the leadership summit. And when I took him on as a client, he just lost his business through COVID. Mm-hmm. He had multiple offices in the medical field, but COVID shut him down. So he couldn't even afford the program. So I took him on payment plan. But long story short, he went from, losing money every single month to making over $1 million a month in revenue in his new business ventures within a year.
Yeah.
But what I was so impressed on the stage, what he said, he wasn't talking about his success in his business. He said one of the key things that he got from working with us and having the Edge community and the brotherhood was his ability to melt the ice queen. And how that just makes
so
everything worth it because he was able to have the tools to melt the ice queen. And now after like how many years being married, I feel like they're finally coming together because after all this time, all the struggle, now they're connecting. And I just saw him last week in New York, and we had a great conversation.
He's in a happy place.
And he's like, it's amazing because when a man finds the capacity to melt the ice queen, and the ice queen is actually in alignment, so many things go. There's so much potential, so much more energy that can be created.
And then
the
queen gets to show up, and then it's like, imagine from that place, like once you melt the ice, and then the queen actually shows up, like what is possible, and you continue to feed yourself as a queen and feed the relationship. That it's like, oh, it's boundless. It's boundless. So I think like the antidote to not having the drama, or even like taking care of the ice queen or the warrior, what do you call them? Dark warrior. I think the antidote is kindness, is generosity to yourself, is love, and is awareness. Because like once you have all those things, and not necessarily in that order, but when that happens, like it kind of like melts away everything that is happening in front of you.
One of the main things that I've learned from my interactions with the ice queen with you is presence. When the ice queen is there and you build a wall, taking ownership and being present, like knowing, okay, there's something that I did in order to create this wall, but having presence and realizing that I'm not going anywhere. Right. Just like you said, we're not going anywhere. We're here until the death. Yeah. We're here until our last breath. And I think that brings both of us certainty. Yeah, knowing that we are work in progress, that we may have drama, but we're talking about having those uncomfortable conversations to let go of the drama and just to continue to feed that relationship.
And I think that's really an important key that you said. And it's kind of like just kind of hidden there. But I think like if you are in a space right now where you think like, or you have drama, or you're in the drama, I think when you know that you're in it for the long run, that you're not going anywhere. I think that was one of the most beautiful things that you did for me, because even though we would fight, even though we would have like this drama, you would always tell me like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm never going to leave you. I'm always going to be here. And there was a lot of me that believed that, like, you're not going anywhere. So we could get over this. Like, it's not as bad as I'm making the story, right? So
let's give them 3 things to end the drama in the relationship.
I'm going to say it might have to be more than 3, but let's start with those. In order for you to speak and have these conversations, you'd have to process the anger and the emotions that are going on inside of you. So I would say really make the time to really have this conversation with yourself and process whatever's happening for you. And then when you're done with that, grab a journal, grab a little paper, write down all those things, and then have the conversation with your spouse, because that's something that really helps me when, you know, like I have all this stuff going on inside of me. Like, I don't want to go and have this conversation with you because if not, it's going to get really bad. So really process the anger, the emotions, and then have the conversation. So
I'll say, don't avoid it, like feel it fully, like the anger, the disappointment, whatever emotion you're feeling.
Yeah.
Allow that emotion to be felt, and then give yourself the permission to ask yourself, like, why am I holding on to this? Why am I holding on to this emotion? Why am I holding on to this drama? Catch the addiction is very similar to sugar. Like, why are you eating sugar, right? It's just pleasure, right?
Yeah.
The drama, sometimes we become addicted to the drama because it's better sometimes to feel something to feel nothing, right? So the moment that you allow yourself to feel it, then you bring awareness to why am I holding on to it? Why am I holding on to this pain? Why am I holding on to this grudge?
Right.
Why am I holding on to this story? So now you're finding more triggers about why is it that you're addicted to drama.
And then I would also say maybe like, I don't know, it's 3 or 4 now, but we all know what we have to do, yet we don't do it. So I really think like if we fill out like an action plan, like whatever you're doing right now, it's not working. Like, what else are you going to do? Do you need to find a community of women that help you think different? Do you need to find a book? Do you need to find a podcast? Do you need to educate yourself on just growth, personal growth? Do you need to do something different? Because, you know, I hear women, they're like, I know what I need to do. I know what I should be doing, yet I don't get it done. Is it because you need someone to hold your hand? Is it whatever it is for you? Like, do that one thing that it's going to get you out of the place where you are to the next best thing.
Because drama is addictive. You know, drama happens the moment that you start focusing on something that is negative, and then it becomes your personality, becomes your environment.
Right.
So find something that actually allows you to feel better as opposed to feeling worse about your situation.
Yeah.
The people that you talk to, the books that you read, even the music you listen to. If you're finding yourself depressed because you listen to some music,
yes,
then maybe it's time for you to listen to something else.
Yes.
So have a process to be able to process drama. Feel the energy and understand yourself and ask yourself, why do you feel in this drama? And third, find something that doesn't put you in that state of being addicted to drama. Find yourself a community where you're going to be able to share things that will inspire you, that will guide you, instead of being stuck in the same situation.
I love
because
that.
Misery loves company.
That's right.
So if you like this podcast and we brought value to you, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, send us your DMs and your messages, and we'll answer those questions next time in our podcast. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us everywhere except for our bedroom, because that's where we keep it private.
Yes, love
Learn
it. Live it, experience it. Love life.
If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take them to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.